Something I'm really not sure about is this idea that collectively we have of sacred judgment, of the judgment of God. And I think the ideas of karma and held consequences, and then us holding ourselves accountable, seem to be a bit closer to my understanding of what a sacred judgment might be. But the whole concept of it makes me very uneasy. I have a hunch that our human ability for justice is breathtakingly beautiful in the eyes of God, but that our current understanding of what justice looks like is just too small. It's thin ice that we get on here in the current understanding and evolution of religious ideas. So I love Glennon's idea of put down the stone, let God have a moment with the person. Love it. Father Greg Voil is this hilarious Catholic priest. He's a great talker. He has audiobooks. I recommend them highly. Various people that know that I love youth work have steered me towards Father Greg Voil. And recently I was at a conference with Spiritual Directors International, and he was speaking, and he was even more funny in the flesh than he is in his audiobooks. And a lot of his humor makes very important teachings. And he said, you've made God in your own image when God hates the same people that you do. Oh, touche, touche. Our job is to love and not to judge. There for the grace of God go I. May we put down our stones and love. And today that's what I'm going to talk about, the loving aspect. So when Reverend Amara asked me to come and sing and speak with you all, I knew immediately what I wanted to share. I wanted to share a little bit of what's been going on in my spiritual practice these past 6 months since I was last with you in January. And today's sermon picks up where my August sermon on the Sacred Heart left off. I know that you don't remember every single thing that I say, thank God. And some of you weren't even here. So let me give you in summary what that sermon was. And I'll also put it in the chat. But if you Google Simon de Voil and Sacred Heart on YouTube, you'll find it. Here's the sermon. Don't go watch it now. Hopefully this one will be better. So what was I saying in that sermon? I was saying that there's a wisdom and grace that's bigger than our own individual experience, and how the sacred practices of the Sacred Heart access the heart of the sacred. What I was getting at, that there's a way of tapping into the heart of the cosmos. There's something here about love as the building blocks of creation, and our humanity being the doorway into this Christ consciousness. And the purpose of praying with the Sacred Heart is about being able to access compassion that's bigger than what we can hold. And if we do our job successfully in praying with the Sacred Heart, the result is an outpouring of healing and new life. And in that sermon, and the real reason that I'm building on it, I shared a video of Cynthia Bourgeault. And I think it was, out of all the things, I share many videos, this is the one out of the year and a half I was with you that I think about the most. In it, Cynthia says, nothing can fall out of God. Nothing. So we're going to watch that again. It's about 3 minutes long. And Travis Reed, he's the guy that you hear behind the camera that makes all the snarky remarks. His remarks with Glennon Doyle, I don't know if you could hear them, but they were very funny about how what she was saying would not build church buildings and make good business sense. True, God is often about deconstructing. Anyway, in this, the video starts and you can't really hear what Travis Reed says. What he is asking Cynthia is this: what breaks your heart apart and what breaks it open? And you'll see what she says.
What breaks your heart apart and what breaks it open?
I think for me personally, what breaks it open is being in the presence of great beauty and of people who, in the face of almost unbearable odds against them, don't react with violence, but hold a ground of dignity. You know, what breaks my heart open is just witnesses like many years ago that the Amish families who found their children were mercilessly gunned down at school, and rather than going to blame and recrimination, they stand not disguising or repressing, but allowing that heart to be broken wide open without resorting to bitterness.
Isn't that weakness?
No, that's what I call Eucharistic love. Because the heart that's broken open without resorting to bitterness is the heart of God reaching out to the world. And it's a sacred communion. So that's what touches me. And I guess you'd say that what breaks it apart is what then breaks it open. To watch the suffering, the number of lives that seem to end feeling like they're boxed in every direction, that the system is against you, and it is. To see the wanton violence, to see the crushing out of hope in people by situations that are simply done by cruelty and carelessness. So that wonderful possibility that it exists in each of one of us to be a transparent mirror of the divine will to take form, that gets crushed. And you watch it get covered over with a hard edge. And it seems to happen to all of us in some ways as part of putting on the armor that we have to get through life. But that would mean that the breaking the heart open is what goes in the opposite direction of that, where with the danger still raging out there, we take the armor off, knowing that something will hold us, and whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. Nothing can fall out of God, nothing.
Amen. I'd like to pause for a second and open up the Zoom for you all to, if you want to, you don't need to, share if there was anything that Cynthia Bourgeot said that really resonated for you. If you're on Zoom, it's easier. You can put your hand up quicker and I can see it, or you can type in the chat. But she said so many tender truths there. And I wondered if anybody wanted to share what they heard that was really meaningful to them. If you're in the room, you can put your hand up. I'm sure somebody has a microphone, or share on the Zoom. Jenny.
I liked the contrast between breaking the heart breaking and versus breaking open as two different concepts. We hear so much about, oh, she's got a broken heart, or he's got a broken heart, but to think about it breaking open to receive something positive is not something that I've heard of before. So that's a new concept for me.
It's a beautiful one. And the title is Eucharistic Love, which it reminded me of breaking open the communion bread. It is. It's a different way of seeing it, isn't it? Yeah. There's a few comments in the chat here. Barbara writes, "Nothing can fall out of God." Yeah, that's the huge one. Jane, on you go.
Yeah, well, just the breaking open theme. I mean, just many years ago in a book group, re-examining the whole communion thing, I changed, we designed our personal communion ritual or words, and I changed the words for myself, which is, this is my body opened for you instead of broken for you. And this is my I'm forgetting it now, but this is my life given, freely given to you. So yeah, that breaking open part speaks to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Jane. Yeah. Noreen writes, leaving blame and bitterness with an open heart. Leave blame and bitterness with an open heart. And Ted or Shannon, one of the two, writes, responding with compassion and the outpouring of God. Is there anybody in the room, in the sanctuary, that wanted to speak to this too? Kathy, you can let me know in the chat if there is. The quotes that I wrote down, which you've spoken to, the first one was, the heart that is broken without resorting to bitterness is the heart of God reaching out to the world. We could spend a couple of years on that line. Why? Wow. Oh my God. The heart that is open, as we've been talking about it in the last minute, and broken without resorting to bitterness is the heart of God reaching out to the world. And there was a line that spoke to me, which kind of just was that she's talking about crushing out hope in people by situations that are done simply with cruelty and carelessness. And there is so much of that in our shared world. Jane writes, turning anger and fear into love. That's a big task. Yeah, that's the holy compost that we are. I used to be the gardener in the Abbey on Iona, and I would talk about this whole sacred journey as being like a enormous compost heap. So where we're going to go to next, unless anybody puts their hand up. Cynthia also said this: with the danger still raging out there, we take the armor off, knowing that something will hold us, and whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. Nothing can fall out of God. Nothing. How can we strengthen our ability to feel connected with that grace that holds us? And I think that it's an important question, because we are in tumultuous and I have to say vicious times. If you are a minority person, your children at school are in more danger than you were 30 years ago. So I've been thinking and praying and dreaming about the heart of compassion, this sacred presence that somehow touches us when we need it, a grace. I've been thinking about it a lot because I've needed it in terms of what's happening in the world with Ukraine and with the shootings, plural, the unspeakable, but displayed right before our eyes. And when we close our eyes, the images don't go away. And I've been steeped in images of Mary and the Sacred Heart because of the work that I do with Abbey of the Arts. Now, some of you will know this, but let me take a little minute to explain. So Abbey of the Arts are people that I work for. I'm a contractor for them. And they are an online sacred community that focuses on the Celtic monks and the desert mothers and fathers. They also look at the arts as a way of prayer. I'm on the Wisdom Council, and I'm often one of the people that leads workshops and worship with the abbess, Christine Walters Paintner. Christine is a dear friend of mine now. She's an amazing person. She's a spiritual director, but she's also a poet and a writer. And I wrote to her this morning and told her, thank you for giving me sermon topics. So I know she's going to be watching the replay. Hi, Christine. One of the things that's unusual about Christine is that she loves to collaborate with other artists. So when she is writing a book or creating a pilgrimage online or whatever she's doing, she likes to do it collaboratively. And what happens is that a whole team of us, artists and dancers and video makers and printmakers, get involved in her sacred task. And this is the book that she released in May. It's called Birth in the Holy, I'm going to read a little blessing from it later. And long story short, her mother died quickly and suddenly when Christine was still really a young woman. And the devastation of that and the consequences of that. One of the things that happened was that Mother Mary became very important to her. And years of prayers and research and her own spiritual practice basically birthed this book, which is also a CD. Let me show you the CD. I've got it here. And that was just, it's just been born. They're in the mail. They're on the way to me. I haven't got any of them yet. So, and there's a prayer cycle that goes with the book. It's a really big deal. It's more than just Christine's work. And I've been working on some of the songs for this project for a couple of years. And you heard me talking about them when I was your bridge pastor, Magnificat, Ave Maria. But there's two other ones that I want to talk about today. One is Requiem, which illustrates the face of Mary called Mother of Sorrows. And the other one is a song that my friend Richard actually created, Mary Untier of Knots. Through the songs, and especially if I'm writing a song from scratch, I really have to like steep into this and learn all I can. But even just learning other people's songs opens a door in me to this heartbeat, the sacred heartbeat that is human, but more than human. And I think that in singing and writing these sung prayers, we're actually calling the sacred to us. What's going on here, right? What's going on is that I'm given a task of writing songs, but it profoundly changes me. And I have to wonder why. Is it a presence, a manifestation of the Mother of Christ reaching across time to touch and bless me and then the people that listen? Is it my imagination filling in meaning to a creative idea? Is it the wisdom of the collective unconscious speaking through archetypes? Christine often talks about the different faces, the different representations of Mary as archetypes. If you don't know about archetypes, they are ideas that live in a collective mind and become invisible influences on us. Carl Jung is the expert here. Do a little bit of research on Carl Jung and archetypes if you want to know more about that. I actually don't know what's going on here. I don't know why these songs change me and become so helpful to me in my prayers. And I'm actually comfortable with not knowing. Mystery is mystery, and I'm somebody with a very vivid imagination, so I don't think I will actually find an answer. What I am more interested in is, does this prayer work actually make a difference? Does it make me more able to be compassionate? Does it strengthen my persona? Does it bring me closer to my God? And it's funny how it all started, because I didn't know anything about Mary, right? Or those candles with the Sacred Heart on them. All this was very, very odd to me. A strange thing that Catholics did. And but then two people asked me to learn to sing the Hail Mary. Two people I cared about dearly. And one of them, I got to sing it for him on his deathbed. I am so glad I said, sure, I don't know anything about the Sacred Feminine in the form of Mary, but let's learn about this. So I learned the songs, and through learning the songs, I was calling out a prayer. And God answers prayers. So I shouldn't have been surprised when shortly thereafter, Christine started emailing me, asking me if I would write, record, and sing all these songs about Mary. And each of the songs revealed a new aspect of this boundless, compassionate way of responding to the world. You know, this is all about how do you respond, not just how do you feel inside yourself. And I think that these prayers basically answer that question that I read out in the Bible reading earlier. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now, to be honest, we humans get defensive and hurt, and we really could do with a sacred presence that helps us face the pain, feel the pain, heal the pain. So I'm going to sing, hopefully I'll have time for two of the songs. I'm going to watch the clock a little bit because you know me, I like to talk and sing. So we might just have time for one. But this is a song called Requiem that I didn't write. There's a woman called Eliza Gilkinson who is quite famous, and she wrote this after a tsunami hit Indonesia in 2004, or maybe it was 2005. And it was going to cost a huge amount of money for the Abbey to pay for her recording because it was part of the music industry. So it was easier for them to buy the rights and then ask me to record it. Of course, I took this on full scale. Like, I breathed, dreamt, slept this song for months, worked on every tiny detail of it. And then after I recorded it, it started appearing in my prayer life. So let me sing it to you first. Mother Mary, full of grace, awaken. All our homes are gone, our loved ones shaken, taken by the sea. Mother Mary, calm our fears, have mercy. Drowning in a sea of tears, have mercy. Hear our mournful plea. Our world has been shaken. We wander, our homelands forsaken. In the dark night of the soul, bring some comfort to us all. Oh, Mother Mary, come and carry us in your embrace, that our sorrows may be faced. Mary, fill the glass to overflowing. Illuminate the path where we are going. Have mercy on us all. In funeral fires burning, each flame to your mystery returning. In the dark night of the soul, your shattered dreamers, make them whole. Oh, Mother Mary, find us where we've fallen out of grace. Lead us to a higher place. In the dark night of the soul, our broken hearts you can make whole. Oh, Mother Mary, come and carry us in your embrace. Let us see your gentle face. Mary. Amen. That's how you spell it, in case you want to Google Eliza's original beautiful, beautiful song. So this song, you probably felt it, brings a healing to unspeakable pain. It's a balm. Did any of you feel that? Yeah. And if we live long enough, life gives us things that are heavier than we can carry and beyond what we can bear. And our heart tends to keep beating. The world ends, but we're stuck in the days. And something, especially love, carries us through. Love from people, love from the earth, love from the heavenly hosts. And the song hasn't been out for very long. We released it in early May, but I'm already getting emails from people who find this song and it companions them through a really hard place and brings some solace. The other way that this song has deepened me, because we all have grief and pain and sorrow. Welcome to the human family. But the other way that this song helps me is in dealing with the unspeakable horror of the news and the personal tragedies that I hear about in my community and my friendship circles. It hurts our heart when we witness and love people who are suffering. You know, we are a collective humanity, and it hurts us when we care about others and they are suffering. And sometimes we get swamped by this and we begin to shut down. And this song helps me show up in my prayers, helps me see always a person and never a victim. If you look at the circumstance and the victimhood of it, you become overwhelmed by the lack of decency in humanity. But when you look at a person and pour out love, you stay connected. And this song really helps me do that. Mary, as Mother of Sorrows, which is the face of Mary, the archetype that Christine talks about in her book. This is the book. And each one has a beautiful block print. This is the Mother of Sorrows. Those of you that grew up Catholic might have seen images of Mary with swords. Here's Christine's blessing. Mary, you are the bearer of grief, your own heart wounded 7 times, pierced by life's stripping away. You know the heart of sorrow. Help us to walk the landscape of loss. Support us when we want to turn away and numb ourselves. Be with us as we endure the heart's hollowing out. For the loss of every person, dream, creature, every life. We know you hear our cries, and the cries of all those who suffer. Show us the pathway into the center of our mourning. Help us keep alive the deep love we carry. Wail with us, weep with us. Hold us as we are carried by the river of grief. Let us feel the ache of our loss. I don't have a lot of time to share this next one with you. I'm going to put a link in the chat to the block prints. Here's one of the block prints. This is Mary Untier of Knots. I was really astonished when I saw this. So one of the people that Christine managed to persuade to pray with her and explore the archetypes of Mary was this amazing artist called Greg Yingst. And she was hoping that he would create a few block prints, and he did it for all 33 names. The faces that she goes through. Amazing artist. And I can understand why, sometimes joining the prayers of other people is a great diving off platform. And Mary Untier of Knots is an aspect of the sacred I'd never heard of. But as a Celtic person, I've thought about knot work and the eternal knot and how we get knotted and how we get knots in our guts. This untying really spoke to me of transformation and release from the patterns that bind us, especially when they don't look like a halo. They look more like fishing nets washed up on the beach with a bunch of plastic caught up in them. Now, the traditional understanding of Mary, Untier of Knots, is about untying our sin, the places we stray from our dignity and sacred knowing. For me, this is a face of the divine feminine, which is about healing, absolute healing, wholeness, acceptance, forgiveness where there is none. The new life overcoming obstacles. A boost of grace that gets you through, renewing of our autonomy and freedom to be ourselves, to be authentic and healthy. So if Mother of Sorrows was like a balm, this one I think of as like an elixir, a strengthening grace. And there's a song that goes with it. I'll sing that to you and then give you my closing remarks. So this one is really, really just jumped out at me when I heard it on the CD when I started working with it in the podcast. And I had to learn it. And then when I was in Santa Fe recently, I saw a statue of Mary Untier of Knots, and it had an even more, I wanted to learn even more about what is this? Undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. Undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. I am ready, because I am tangled, aching to be free, free from these patterns. Undo me, undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. Undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. I am ready, because I am wounded, aching to be healed, healed to be joyful. Undo me, undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. Undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. I am ready, because I am tangled, aching to be free, free from these patterns. Undo me, undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. Undo me, untire of knots, I am ready. I am ready. So maybe next time I can tell you about the prayer conversation and realization I had with the statue of Mary Untier of Knots in Santa Fe. What came out of that prayer with the statue? I love praying with art. It's a great way of praying. I realized I really wanted to spare Mary from the ordeal of having to sit at the foot of the cross when her son died, and the fear that she would have had for years that the Romans would do this. And then seeing her own people turning against her son, and then to watch him die and part of her to die with him. I wanted to spare her from that, but I couldn't. None of us, well, I can't, right? I'm all these years later. Who am I? Right? But just that symbol of we want to spare others of their suffering. but it's not ours to take away the life from others. And in the case of Mary, if she had not survived and been transformed by that, she wouldn't be able to show up for billions of people that have called out to her and do call out to her on a daily basis for healing, for comfort, so that they can just get through incredibly difficult days. The thing is, pain and sorrow and tender grief, these things transform us. They teach us what matters in life, and they deepen our capacity to hold. May we do all that we can to support those who are heartbroken, who are suffering in body, mind, and spirit. And may we receive the grace and blessing of God in those terrible moments ourselves. May we be strengthened and transformed in our times of trial. And perhaps that's the real teaching of sin. But that's the sermon for another day. Amen. Thank you for listening.